Guys you see being in that competition this fall, and what do you want to see from those guys in the competition?
Well, yeah, obviously it doesn't answer your question, but kind of starts with Drew Beam's leadership. He's been a rock and kind of a staple of our pitching the last few years, and hopefully his attributes kind of spill out into the new guys. And I think that process has already begun. And the fun thing about any position you want to talk about, we have open competition everywhere. Obviously, AJ Russell is looking to make a step forward from what he did last year and would be a strong candidate for doing that. You'd like to mix in a left-handed pitcher, and with Xander and Stamos, who's not John Stamos' kid, but has been fun to be around and fun to joke around about that. And others, there's too many candidates to list that I think could pop into those roles. And to be honest with you, we don't need to settle into a starting rotation until SEC play rolls around.
Well, Eric and then Ben.
Tony, the guy that had missed time last year in Wyatt Evans, how is he kind of progressing back from injury? Kind of what are your expectations for him this fall heading into the season?
Yeah, I'm rusty on the interviews. I'm glad you brought him up because he's a direct answer to what we were just talking about. And when you looked at him as a freshman, he's getting solid innings, competitive innings, SEC innings as a freshman on one of the best teams in the country in 2022. And then a frustrating year for all last year where he couldn't get out there consistently with just some soreness and no major injury. But I think he has a lot of that past him now. He's got a lot of spring in his step when he's at the park, and then the ball's jumping out of his hand pretty good. And when you think of starters in our league, a lot of those guys are not just durable bodies, but big physical guys, and Wyatt is just that. And now he's got some experience to boot. So when, again, reflecting back on his freshman year, if we could predict the future, we thought he'd get more innings as a sophomore and then be a strong candidate to be a starter on the weekend for us this year. But like I said, there's a lot of open competition, so if he were not able to capture one of those roles at any point in the year, I think he can pick back up where he left off in 22 and serve a major role for us.
Ben.
Tony, I know a lot of those arms are in an open competition right now and roles aren't going to be defined until much later, but the three transfers that you added, Stamos, Causey, and Snead, what did you like about them in the recruiting process? And a Snead, a Causey, could they be a guy that starts for you?
Yeah, both are fully capable of starting. I mean, you could, I don't really like kind of lumping guys into a specific category that they are or they're not. With Snead, he's got such big stuff, and at times I think had really short burst outings for Wichita State last year. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what he is for us. He'll be given every opportunity to show that he can start, but also could be a powerful arm out of the bullpen. And then, you know, Stamos did a lot of different things. If you look at Cal last year, his time there, he bounced around in a lot of different roles, served as an opener even, and then Causey, even though he's a low slot guy, again, you might say, well, this is a guy that comes in as a situational righty for you out of the bullpen. He's shown that he's capable of starting. So, but overall, those three guys, maybe it's because we haven't inter-squatted yet. The three best things, or the best things that those three guys bring to the table every day is just their vibe and their attitude. They're good kids, they're willing to learn, and they certainly are fun to be around.
So Mike, Ryan, and we'll go to Reese, and then Caleb.
What does it do for you having a guy like Zane back, and how's he doing with the fall so far?
Yeah, I think for Zane Denton, the first thing you got to do is reflect on what he did last year. Was kind of add to it's been a nice list of magical moments that we've had here. And there's no way you can have those. You can't coach them, and you really can't train for them in practice. The only way to have them is when you have perseverance, which he certainly had throughout all of last year. Not that he hasn't had it prior to last year too, but a ton of it last year. And then our team really came close together at the end, and he was a big part of that. This year, the first couple scrimmages, I know he won't be a part of. He's handling some things that he has to. But again, like last year, he's been able to manage a lot in his life on and off the field and done very well at it. And I think the fact that he's in a supportive environment here, it's kind of helped him progress the way that he has.
Ryan.
A lot of people became familiar with Marcus Phillips after showing the home run derby the other week. What does he bring to the table, and what are your expectations for him?
More personality than he had on his official visit. He didn't say anything on that on the visit, and we quite didn't know everything we were getting out of him, other than a respectful, good kid, good teammate, good worker. some lineage there with his father playing in pro ball. And it doesn't take long to look at him to see that he's very athletic and has a lot of potential. But what he has sprinkled in addition to those 3 pitchers I mentioned, is just, unless he's tricking us, which I hope he's not, great dude to be around every day. You know, when you come to work every day and you're a baseball coach, you probably don't label it work because it's fun. You get to wear athletic clothing and bounce around on the field with the guys. So when you are changing in the locker room and you get out of your car, you want to come to the field with guys that you're excited about, not just working with, but being around. And he's a strong combination of both. He's fun to work with on the mound, at the plate, and then of course defensively too. But again, in addition to those 3 guys, Wyatt back to full strength. The consistent theme for the coaches when we meet and have a roundtable discussion about these guys is not how many homers do we think they're going to hit, or because they can hit BP homers, can they hit them in a game? And he's going to need some reps to do that, being from a northern state like I was. But the group's been a pleasure to be around. That needs to get stronger as we go forward, not weaker.
Reese, Caleb, and then Wes.
What do you expect out of the catcher position when you have 3 guys back there, Starr, Taylor, and Peebles as well?
Yeah, Cal had an operation that a lot of guys have that are hitters with his hamate bone. So he's out right now, and rather than kind of sit on the sidelines and either feel sorry for himself or just be inactive, he's almost kind of taken on the role of an extra coach. And because of his experience, we're good with that. And because he's such a likable dude, his teammates are good with it. So that's been pretty cool to see, and is a good example of what I'm harping on with the environment we have over there. But you got Chuck, who's just a guy who will probably be a CEO of a company one day, which means you're certainly not afraid to put him in charge of a pitching staff or in charge of anything else as it relates to defensive duties behind the plate. And then we have one of the more talented freshmen in the country in Stone Lawless. And then 2 guys who you could just take away their catching duties with Peebles and Vargo coming in, and they could be middle of the order bats for a lot of people in the country. So it'll be a fun one to sort out. And the thing that I think they've already bought into is when Coach Elander works that intensely with you every day, and you have an opportunity to learn from a guy like Frank Anderson on how to handle pitchers, you're going to get better. So if each one of those guys gets better every day, I think most of them will have a pro opportunity. They'll all have an enjoyable experience, and we'll have true depth at the most important position on the field, or the toughest position on the field to fill.
Caleb.
Can you kind of expand on Dalton Barger a little bit? What stood out during his recruitment, and where do you see him kind of fitting in with this team?
The biggest thing is he just wanted to be here. Hey, in recruiting, we all go probably overboard on listing the positives, and maybe you tuck any negatives away or hide them in the closet. With him, just with where we're at in the summer, we were awfully honest with him. And being around him every day, I'm so glad he's here. I look back and I'm like, why weren't we that honest with him? But we just kind of laid it out. And really what it came down to is he wanted to be here. And he had his mindset on it. For whatever reason, you'd have to ask him. And he gave us a few, but again, he could probably speak for himself better than I can. But he is a low maintenance. Again, when you come to work every day, you like guys like this. He is a low maintenance, blue collar worker. And that's a credit to his family, and then how he has shaped his career. Probably a little bit of even his, where he has spent his college time prior to here. But he's not afraid to work, and he kind of is that, keep his head down, yes sir guy that you really like. And on top of it, hit a big homer against us last year. He's capable of hitting for average and a little bit of power as well. But he could probably end up playing anywhere on the field. So during scrimmages, we'll bounce him around like crazy, and hopefully it doesn't drive him crazy, because I think it can benefit him a little bit down the road.
Wes.
Tony, what are your sort of options right now at shortstop, and what's the top list of priorities you're looking at in terms of finding a guy there?
Yeah, I was out there the other day and tried to field one and popped out of my glove. So I've been eliminated. It's too early to eliminate anybody else because we've had a lot of guys run over there, whether it's during BP and it's on their own or during practice. We ask them to kind of go to wherever they want. And heck, who wouldn't want to be an SEC shortstop? Now, I was speaking with one of my friends who knows nothing about baseball, but he does follow the team, and he said, who's your shortstop? And I said, we don't have one. And what I meant with that answer is just, I don't even know that there's necessarily somebody we're targeting to be the guy or someone that's a front runner at this point. But I certainly feel comfortable that we have several options at that position, whether you get a guy who turns an ankle on a base, or you feel like Trey Lipscomb, who we knew could play shortstop, we felt we were better with him at third in the combination. So it might come down to just what's the best overall combination. But right now we have several guys that are going to become better players, and better infielders, and better people because there's a few guys pushing each other at that spot.
Harvick in the back.
Hey Coach, see you have Omaha on your hat there. First off, intentional because you knew you were going to be on video today, and two, you could speak to the expectations of the program. Every year with 2 out of the last 3 years ending up in the College World Series.
Yeah, to be honest with you, we're under the watchful eye here of Tyler Johnson, who's our sport administrator, and probably goes to bat, no pun intended, for our program more than anybody in the administration. And of course, our SID, Sean Barrows, is here. And I knew I had this, but I'm not a good waker-upper guy in the morning, so I just want to make sure I have clothes on, unlike the guy that was in the DFW airport a week or two ago. So, yeah, I honestly would rather not be wearing this hat. It was a gift last year, and it's a great hat, but that was last year. So no message trying to be sent. I'm not into politics or subtle messages at all. I like to wear comfortable clothing, or if somebody gives me something for free, I'll certainly wear it. Hint, hint, to anybody listening. So, it was last year, and to be honest with you, if I was to wear anything with Omaha written on it intentionally or for style purposes around the building, it would be a reminder that the next time our program's fortunate enough to be there, we need to play better. So that's a weird and long answer for a first question. What was the second one, or was there one?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, good. I like our rapport.
We'll do 2 or 3 more. Ben, then we'll go to Eric, and then Mike, and then Ryan.
Tony, just obviously a lot of attention around Billy Amick and picking him up over the offseason. Just what has he been able to add, and just adding him in general, what did that mean to your program, because everybody in the country wanted him?
Yeah, the fun thing about our interactions at the beginning of the year, when you say your name, where you're from, and then we try and follow up on that and get the guys to know each other as quickly as possible. The consistent theme with him is he just wants to win. And it's one thing to say that, because many kids will do so, but you can sense that coming off of him, the vibe that he presents, and then also in his actions, the way he is. And I think he is here to make himself better and to win. And I've been impressed at how quickly he's kind of taken to his teammates and how quickly they've taken to him. He is not a loud jokester or a big-time, I don't want to say big-time personality, because I like his personality, but he's not as outgoing or as loud as a guy like Evan Russell. Let's put it that way. But for him to interact with and get acclimated so quickly with our team is huge, because he comes from one of the strongest programs in the country. He's already spent a couple years in college baseball. You don't want that mercenary feeling like, hey, this guy's just here to help us for maybe a year and then move on. It's been quite the contrary.
Eric?
Tony, you mentioned in the past how important fall is for your team to come together to kind of figure out kind of who you guys are before the season actually starts. When does that start to take place? Is it a week, a month, at the end of the fall slate? When does that happen?
It depends on the team, and one of the returners from last year, I'll just say at KT, is such a different kid to talk to as a freshman. I don't have kids of my own, but that freshman year to maybe sophomore year, even freshman to junior year, it's so fun to see how much they change. And not that he was an immature kid, but he's increased so much in the maturity category. He's fun to sit down and pick his brain. And we had a convo up in the office, and he basically said, our team right now, our group, is probably about where we were at when we played in Memphis last year, which was near the end of the fall. It was a scrimmage day, or a game against an outside opponent where you can really find some things out about yourself. And for whatever reason, maybe it's the makeup of the guys, the extra motivation, the enjoyment in seeing the construction. It's been a quick turn, and the freshmen have been a part of that too. Sometimes they're on the outside looking in, and it takes a while for them to be a part of this group. But you can't pick and choose when it's going to happen. There's some things that can help speed it up, and you can be proactive about it, but ultimately it's about the people. And I feel like we have good people over there at our stadium.
Last two, Mike and Ryan.
It wasn't like seeing everything going on over at Lindsey Nelson Stadium right now. How are you dealing with the construction while trying to play baseball?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, when you stay in a hotel, you travel recruiting, or you guys have to travel to watch our teams, and the hotel says, excuse our progress, and then you hear like a drill when you're trying to sleep at 7 a.m. or whatever. That's their way of saying, too bad, too sad, but we're making, you should be happy, this is gonna get even better down the road. Or, if we had a comic up here like Mancuso, we could say it better. But I think for us, it's a little bit of a headache. You could look at it that way, like the 7 a.m. Drill bit you hear, or you could look at it as the sign that says we're making progress. And I think our kids are kind of amped up every day to see literally the future right in front of them. And I know people expected to see construction as soon as the program really started to have significant success, and it doesn't work that way. It is an absolute grind, and it's a process that comes with a lot of paperwork and people lobbying and raising money, and there's too many people to list that we need to be thankful for. But probably the biggest group is the players that have come before this team, and I know some of them have been a part of it. I mean, but Drew Beam, freshman year, are to thank more than anyone. And it's just really cool to look out the window or to get out of the car in the morning and see that. And it'll be even more fun when it's complete, at least this phase of it for this year.
The number of talented and kind of proven infielders you have on this team, just how important will cross-training be this fall to give yourself as many options as possible, and how much do you anticipate Christian Moore working at shortstop?
Well, right now he's made the decision he's not going to leave there until I tell him, which is fine. Again, we'll see how it works out. I think it's pretty evident for us to be the best version of us. We need him to be who he is on the field, which has been obviously strong in the first 2 years. But now this year, we need him to be a leader as well. So regardless of what spot he's doing it from, because it could be from the dugout at times, hopefully that means we have a good lead or something like that. But in the clubhouse, on the field, he needs to be a leader, and I feel he can do that in any position. But at short, you are in the middle of the field, and let's be honest with each other. It's attractive for scouts to see a guy that is athletic enough to play in the middle of the field. Well, I don't mean to speak for scouts at all, but if you make Team USA, you're probably athletic enough to be somewhere on the field at the pro level. So it'll work out the right way, and I like the determination that he and some others are hungry to either capture that position or another, or just a position in general. But again, there's options. So maybe we tinker around a little bit and just find that best combination, or let it be the best man win. And there's a variety of experience there, whether it be junior college, transfer portal, currently in the program, or just freshmen that have played at a high level at some of these events these guys get invited to. So I feel like everyone will be ready. We'll play the guys that are just most ready or most developed, and then if I could have a crystal ball, I think as the season goes on, someone's going to knock on the door and kind of walk through and maybe get innings that they weren't getting early in the year, and maybe there'll be some other things that kind of evolve as well.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.